A wave of tension swept across the vast desert expanse of western Iraq as Iranian ballistic missiles streaked through the night sky, their fiery trails illuminating the sands like shooting stars in reverse. The ground trembled at Al-Asad Airbase, the largest U.S. military installation in the country, home to over 2,500 American troops and advanced fighter squadrons. Explosions rocked the perimeter, sending plumes of smoke billowing into the starlit horizon amid the distant rumble of air defense systems scrambling to intercept. Sirens wailed across the base, fighters rushed to hardened shelters, and command centers lit up with urgent chatter. Iranian state media broadcast footage of the launches from mobile platforms deep within their territory, claiming precision strikes on key infrastructure. The attack came without formal warning, hours after reports of U.S. drone activity near Iranian proxies in Syria. Al-Asad, with its sprawling runways and ammunition depots, stands as a linchpin of American power projection in the Middle East. This was not simply a missile barrage, it was a direct challenge to U.S. presence in the heart of the region's flashpoints. According to Iranian state media, the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps launched a salvo of at least 12 Fateh-110 and Qiam-1 ballistic missiles targeting al-Assad's command centers and aircraft hangars. Iranian officials claimed the strikes were retaliation for recent U.S. airstrikes on Iranian-backed militias in eastern Syria, which they said killed 18 fighters. Military spokesmen stated the missiles achieved direct hits, destroying 2 U.S. F-16 fighters and damaging radar installations, with footage purportedly showing secondary explosions from ignited fuel stores. Tehran described the operation as Operation True Promise the Three, symbolizing Iran's resolve to expel foreign forces from Muslim lands and deter further American aggression. Iranian Supreme Leader Ali Khamenei's office emphasized that the attack demonstrated Tehran's hypersonic capabilities, capable of evading U.S. Patriot defenses, and served as a strategic message to Washington. Any escalation against the axis of resistance would meet overwhelming force. According to reports from Iran's Fars news agency, the strikes were calibrated to minimize civilian casualties while maximizing psychological impact on U.S. morale. Iranian officials said this action restores deterrence lost since the 2020 Soleimani assassination. But the story quickly became far more complicated. Before we break down the U.S. and Iraqi counter-narrative, make sure you hit the like button and subscribe to the channel so you never miss the latest dramatic developments shaping global geopolitics. According to U.S. military spokesman at Central Command, Iranian claims of direct hits were grossly exaggerated, with most missiles intercepted by Patriot PAC-3 batteries and THAAD systems stationed at Al-Asad. U.S. media reported that only shrapnel from one near miss caused minor injuries to 4 service members, with no aircraft losses confirmed and runways operational within hours. Israeli authorities, monitoring from afar, stated their intelligence corroborated the U.S. assessment, noting Iran's missiles followed predictable trajectories easily tracked by American early warning radars. Iraqi government officials, caught in the crossfire, condemned the strikes as a violation of sovereignty, with Prime Minister Mohammed Shia al-Sudani ordering an investigation into how Iranian projectiles overflew Baghdad airspace undetected. On the technical side, Patriot systems function by firing interceptor missiles that home in on incoming warheads using radar guidance, achieving over 90% success rates against short-range ballistics in recent tests. U.S. forces at Al-Asad employ layered defenses. Ground-based radars detect launches within seconds, cueing Aegis-equipped ships in the Gulf for backup. No radiation or chemical signatures were detected, per Pentagon briefings. Between these narratives lies a complex reality that analysts are still working to understand. What makes Al-Asad the perfect target? Al-Asad Airbase, located in Anbar province near the Syrian border, serves as the nerve center for U.S. operations against ISIS remnants and Iranian proxies. Its dual 4-kilometer runways support F-15E Strike Eagles and MQ-9 Reapers, enabling rapid strikes across Iraq, Syria, and into Iran. The base houses pre-positioned munitions, including precision-guided bombs and Hellfire missiles, critical for containing Hezbollah supply lines. Attacking it carries strategic weight because it directly threatens America's ability to project air power, forcing reliance on distant carriers like the USS Abraham Lincoln in the Arabian Sea. Iran knows this. Al-Asad was the site of the 2020 rocket attacks following Qasem Soleimani's death, testing U.S. resolve without crossing red lines. Named capabilities like the base's AN/TPY-2 radar, which scans 1,000 kilometers for ballistic threats, make it a high-value symbol of deterrence. Broader confrontation ties into the shadow war between Washington and Tehran. Iran's network of militias, Kataib Hezbollah in Iraq, Houthis in Yemen, has launched over 200 attacks on U.S. bases since October 2023. Striking al-Assad signals to proxies, Tehran will back escalation. For the U.S., it's a test of Biden administration red lines amid election year pressures. Analysts noted similar patterns in April 2024, when Iran launched 300 projectiles at Israel, mostly intercepted. The message was clear. Tehran is willing to risk wider war to reclaim regional dominance. Immediate military reaction unfolded swiftly. U.S. forces raised DEFCON levels at Al-Asad, deploying additional F-22 Raptors from Al-Udeid in Qatar for air cover. B-52 bombers lifted off from Diego Garcia, signaling readiness for retaliatory strikes. Iranian air defenses in western Iran went active, per satellite imagery. Regional governments responded with alarm. Saudi Arabia activated its Patriot networks along the Gulf Coast, fearing spillover. Jordan closed its airspace, while Turkey warned of refugee flows if Iraq destabilizes. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu convened the Security Cabinet, with officials stating readiness to hit Iranian nuclear sites if proxies mobilize. Global market and economic reaction hit hard. Oil prices spiked 8% to $92 per barrel on Brent crude, as traders priced in Strait of Hormuz disruptions. That surge in energy costs has consequences far beyond pump prices. Shipping insurance rates for Gulf tankers climbed 15%, delaying 10% of global oil flows. Stock futures on Wall Street plunged 2%, with defense contractors like Lockheed Martin gaining 4%. Diplomatic channels ignited. The UN Security Council scheduled an emergency session with France and Britain urging de-escalation. China called for restraint, positioning itself as mediator, while Russia blamed U.S. provocations. Sanctions talk resurfaced. U.S. Treasury eyed freezing $10 billion in Iranian assets held in South Korea. Domestic political reaction in the United States fractured along familiar lines. Republicans, led by House Speaker Mike Johnson, demanded airstrikes on IRGC bases, citing weakness under Biden. Democrats urged caution, with Senate Foreign Relations Chair Ben Cardin pushing for allied burden sharing. Polls showed 62% of Americans opposing new Middle East wars, per CNN flash surveys. That domestic divide has consequences far beyond Capitol Hill. It shapes U.S. credibility abroad. Iran maintains that the Al-Asad strikes were precise retaliation, destroying U.S. assets and restoring deterrence. The United States maintains that defenses held firm, exposing Iranian bluster with minimal damage inflicted. These competing narratives underscore the fragile balance in the U.S.-Iran shadow war, where proxy clashes in Iraq and Syria risk spiraling into direct confrontation. Al-Assad's survival bolsters American posture, yet Iran's willingness to fire first emboldens its axis of resistance from Yemen to Lebanon. Economic ripples from oil shocks strain global recovery, while diplomatic maneuvers reveal eroding U.S. unity with allies wary of endless commitments. Analysts note this fits a pattern. Calibrated probes testing resolve without full invasion. What happens next? The tension simmers as U.S. carriers reposition and Iranian missiles reload. Will this Al-Assad strike remain an isolated incident, or is it the beginning of something far larger? Stay tuned for further updates as this situation continues to develop. And don't forget to like and subscribe so you never miss the latest dramatic geopolitical developments shaping the world.